Thank you. And now I'd like to recognize the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey.
Thank you very much, Chairman Babin. Mr. Coleman, what is the budget amount for the application process, department or division or whatever you call it?
In fiscal year, first of all, thank you for the question, Mr. Posey. The fiscal year 24 budget for my office was $42 million in operations funding.
Okay. How many employees do we have in that department?
We currently have 158 staff members in our organization, with roughly 65 to 70% of those employees working licensing.
Okay. How many licenses do you have in process right now?
I'll have to go back and take a look at the exact number, Mr. Posey, and get back to you on that, but I can tell you.
Just swag it. I'm not going to hold you to it.
Somewhere probably 30 to 40.
Okay. And the average time when the process starts, discounting any stoppage in the middle, is 151 days.
Correct, on the average.
Are you familiar with starfighters?
Yes, of course.
Can you bring me up to date on the status of starfighters?
Well, I know that's a very important topic to you. That was something that the agencies looked at. I think there was legislation passed a couple of years ago that would allow us to take a look at how we might be able to leverage that technology to support the commercial space industry, particularly in the area of commercial human space flight. There's probably some more details that I could probably collect for you. I'll have to get back to you on additional details.
Okay, well, let me bring you up to date. Starfighters, they fly F-104 jets, retired pilots, thousands of hours aggregate in experience, safety record impeccable. They have flown, I know they did it before I came to Congress, so I assume for decades they've been licensed or used by NASA to do parabolic missions. You know, it's so much easier to strap an experiment in the back seat of an F-104 and take it up and do your gravitational parabolic test. And so inevitably somebody's going to say, hey, would you take me for a ride? Well, they have to have a license to do that. They can probably get a license to do that easily in any other country in the entire world. But they went through the process and they applied for a license before I came to Congress 16 years ago. 16 years ago. Now, you had licensed zero gravity to take dozens of people up in a big airplane and let them experience weightlessness. I've had a couple of meetings with your agency, and I can't for the life of me understand why in the world, in over 16 years, they can't get a license. Now, I know you don't want hobbyists taking people up, you know, and you want it regulated. And the excuse I'm always given is, well, they're not an airliner like goes back and forth from DC to Orlando 50 times a day, and they're not an inexperienced, totally novice, like a launch, human launch license you issued over 16 years ago to a company who had never even flown a cargo mission. You gave them a license to launch human beings. They just want to, they're in the middle, and so you can't make a decision on that. That's why I passed, specifically why we passed the legislation that you are aware of, is so that you could license people to do that. And I just would like to know the reason why, beside arrogance, petulance, and defiance, it hasn't been done yet.
Well, Mr. Posey, I certainly appreciate and understand your frustration. I really do. I will tell you, you asked me about the number of applications that are currently on the slate for my organization. Starfighters currently is not one of them. Now, the legislation that was passed, best of my knowledge, was put those responsibilities for looking at starfighters in another part of our agency under Title 49. We're a Title 51 organization. And so I will certainly take your concerns back to the agency. I will talk to my colleagues about that, and we will certainly circle back with you with a more detailed explanation to address your concerns.
Yeah, I know starfighters have it. They're working with George Neal, and they're happy with the licenses that they're getting. This is more a personal oversight perspective for me than it is starfighters, and I really would appreciate it if you would get back to me on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see my time is about
Will do so.
expired. I yield back.